I think you deal with it your entire life. It's not something that goes away. You just have to kind of learn more about it.
The whole community is harmed when these types of crimes occur.
It is a very tense time. It's tense for everybody involved.
But there truly is no typical, because we see the gamut from elderly to children and everywhere in between.
Sexual assault is something that impacts the entire community, and oftentimes people think that it's something that just happens to young women or women in their early 20s kind of thing. And what we see here at Sexual Assault Support Services is that sexual violence really affects everyone, from children to adolescents to adults to those that aren't even the primary victims.
1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men in their lifetime will find themselves to be a victim of sexual violence. That's a staggering statistic. And so this is a very pervasive issue in our community.
This is not just a women's problem. Anyone can be affected by sexual violence. Children, males, females, it doesn't matter age, young, old, doesn't matter. Anyone can be affected by sexual violence.
I felt guilty that I hadn't been able to protect her at a time when I literally didn't know her. I mean, it makes no sense at all. But that's just an example of how powerful the issue can be.
New Hampshire is very fortunate to have an agency like SASS in the community to support victims and families who are impacted by sexual violence.
Our mission is really twofold. Our mission is both to be available to support anyone who's been affected by sexual violence, and we do that 24 hours a day. But our other big half of our mission is to prevent these crimes from happening. So a tremendous amount of our work and energy and resources go into providing our prevention education programs in the schools.
What might be a hurtful touch? Yeah.
Punching.
Punching is definitely a hurtful touch. What else?
Kicking.
Kicking is a hurtful touch. Yeah.
Sometimes we do hear that after we go into a school, that sometimes after that a kid will disclose that maybe they had been abused, and because of our programs they learned that it was okay to tell.
Without SASS having been here, I don't think we could have had that avenue. Most of the time the kids don't know who to talk to or don't know that they can, and that it is okay to talk about it because they've been told. The kids know who to come to and how to be safe.
When I was a child and I was being sexually abused, I didn't tell anyone for years. I was told not to tell anyone, and I believed that was the right thing to do. When I was in 6th grade, and they put all the kids in the gym and showed us a video on safety and how not to let anyone touch you inappropriately. That was the first time really it made sense to me that that's what had happened, and it wasn't okay. And that was the day that I went home and told my parents about what had happened.
If you ever look in the face of a parent who has found out that their child's been sexually assaulted, it's heartbreaking. And SASS can intervene with that parent and help them start the healing process.
Sadly, very young victims are convinced that the abuse is normal or okay, and especially if it's very frequent and happening in the home. So very often, you know, kids between 5 and 8 come in and they're okay. Their parents are not okay, and that's why SASS is providing a very important role.
I'd like to introduce you to Tammy. She's from
Where SASS gets called in is we get called anytime a child's being interviewed so that we can provide support to the family members who are there. Because as you can imagine, if it's your child who's disclosed sexual assault, then you're suddenly at this location, you don't know what's going to happen next, you don't know what the process is. So SASS is there to provide that emotional support to the parents as they go through this, and also to help kind of explain the next steps and what's going to happen.
SASS is a great resource for parents who have questions about doctors in the area, therapists in the area, who have questions, you know, maybe to the advocate about, you know, have you been here for these before, you know, what happens next?
Without the resources of an organization like SASS, victims would be completely on their own, and, you know, dealing with the personal impact of sexual violence and trying to navigate the criminal justice system, if that's where it ends up.
SASS offers support groups to a variety of different types of victimization. We have support groups for teenage survivors of sexual assault. We have groups for adult survivors of sexual assault, for adults who are sexually abused as children, for parents of children who have been sexually abused, and for partners of sexual assault survivors.
The hardest part of the support group was walking in the first day. After I was there and met all of these people who had common histories like mine, it was like the first time I felt connected to people. I didn't know anyone else who had ever had any of these experiences. So the first time in my life, I was finally with a group of people that knew what I was talking about. If I had not gone to that support group, I think my life would be pretty different right now.
SASS is available to provide support to anyone who's been affected by sexual violence at any point in their healing process. So that sometimes we hear from people right after it's happened, and we might support them as they're going to the hospital to have a forensic medical exam. That's both to make sure they're okay physically and also for the collection of evidence. We might go with them if they choose to report to the police, and through the whole court process if the case ends up going that far.
They handle the now what? Where do I go from here? Now that we're home and we've gone through this event, where do we go? What do we do? And SASS offers that support and the resources and the information that that family needs to get through that, to start that healing process. I wouldn't let anyone leave my doors without SASS. SASS shouldn't be an option. Every patient needs that lifeline when they walk out that door.
Sexual violence is a problem in this community, and that it is something that if we are truly going to keep children and other members of our families and other adults safe from sexual violence, we need everybody to get involved.
It's a way to give back to the community. For me personally, it's a way to try and fix something that I think is very wrong with the world that we live in, and to try and, you know, hopefully prevent other people from having to go through some of the experiences that I had to go through.
Sexual violence can happen to anyone. And certainly it has affected people that they know, whether they know that or not. And I would think that people would want to contribute or be part of ending sexual violence.